Good afternoon. I see that it is 1 o'clock, and we will call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
I'm sorry, Chairperson Forte,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Coleman,
Present, Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Einhauser. He is excused but plans to join us. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The first item we have is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved, and we'll move on now to the approval of the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved. We'll now move into public participation, and Brian's on, so I'm sure that Mr. Peckinpah will make an announcement with respect to how public participation will work.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Brian Peckinpah, Public Affairs Director for DWSD. I'll give the instructions for virtual public comment. To make a comment, please raise your hand by using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device when you're using the Zoom app. If you are calling into the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. During public comment, after your name is called, you will be given permission to unmute. In order to begin speaking, you will have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon if you're online or on the Zoom app, or *6 if you are calling in. You will have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment. There will be a timer indicating your remaining time. If you're online to make a comment, we kindly request you fill out the comment card link that's located in the chat. By filling out the card, we will have your contact information to follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a phone number will be provided for you. You will only be called upon once the chair closes public comment. There will be no other comments from the public, and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the committee meeting. Thank you for your attention. And Madam Chair, I'm just looking at the attendees.
Yes.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we do not have any hands raised.
Okay. I'll ask again, is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? If so, raise your hand. And seeing none and hearing none, we will now close public comment. Okay, our next item is communications. And we have one item, 2025-71. Is there a motion? Commissioner Coleman, I think you're on mute.
My apologies, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a recommendation to the Board of Water Commissioners, item 2025-71, to receipt of correspondence attached to the Board of Water Commissioners memo, contracts, and purchase orders from $5,000 to $25,000, April 2025.
Thank you. I will second that motion to receive the correspondence for file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. And we'll move on to item 7, which is unfinished business, and we have none. Item 8 is new business. And the first item we have is item A, 2025-72.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Coleman?
I'd like to make a recommendation to the Board of Water Commissioners for the City of Detroit Water and Sewer Department, authorize the directors to approve amendment number 1 to DWSD contract number 6005989 with Corporate Specialties, LLC, to provide DWSD branded products by adding funds in the amount of $25,000 for a total amended contract not to exceed amount of $200,000. No change to the scope of work, terms, and conditions or expiring terms of 11/27/26. This also authorizes directors to take such other actions as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote.
Thank you. I second that motion. And we have Ms. Welch.
Yes, good afternoon. This contract amendment is just to add an addition of $25,000 to the current contract. The contract term does not end until November 27th of 2026. It's just to allow additional spending for DWSD branded items beyond the scope of what public affairs does when they go out and do community outreach. It allows HR to be able to purchase DWSD branded shirts and materials when they go out to do job fairs and various other public facing activities for DWSD. So there'll be no change to the scope of work or the contract term. We're just adding the additional money so that Brian's group for public affairs does not have a budget shortfall for their forecast for the remaining duration of the contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I have one. I see that the term expires 11/27/26. What was the length of time for the original contract?
2 years. It was for 2 years and 175,000.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. We'll move to item B, 2025-73. I'll go ahead and make this motion. I would move that the Board of Water Commissioners for City of Detroit Water and Sewerage Department authorizes the director to approve amendment number 1 to DWSD contract 6005968 with Deborah Pospich, PLLC, for legal and consultant services for miscellaneous special projects. By adding $150,000 in funding for a total amended not to exceed amount of $400,000 and extending the term by 1 year for a new term ending 6/30/26. The Board of Water Commissioners also authorizes the director to take such other action as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote. Is there a second?
Support.
Been moved and properly supported. Ms. Welch?
Yes, the contract amendment, as read, is to add 150,000 in addition of 1 year to the contract for Deb Pospich. It's just for the continuation of legal services that she provides, as well as consulting work and special projects that continuously support DWSD. As the board is aware, she does do a lot of the negotiating and federal state level agreements that DWSD solicits for. And so this is for the continuation of those services and other miscellaneous projects that support DWSD operations.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. And we'll now move on to item 2025-75. Commissioners.
Madam
Madam Chair. I move that we recommend to the Board of Water Commissioners the adoption of contract number 6007080 C 1995 with Orchid Heights and McClintock Inc., DBA OHM Advisors for stormwater infrastructure program management services for a total contract amount not to exceed $18 million and a term of 5 years plus 2 one-year renewal options, and authorize the director to take appropriate actions.
Support.
It's been moved and properly supported. We'll now hear from Ms. Welch to give us some additional context.
Yes, I just want to make one update that we're on item 2025-74. And Commissioner Einhauser read the amount and term for the next contract. So I just Want
My
to make sure that the
apologies. Can
motion
we,
is
Madam
updated.
Chair, can we take them out of order?
Let me ask, Mr. Riggs, can we take these out of order?
This is Mary, what's going on? I'm,
No, we skipped ahead.
We
can
skipped
take-
ahead.
Yeah, we can take them out of
yeah, you
order.
can still do, right, we can just go back, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Marion.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're looking at 2025-75. Thank you, Ms. Welch.
This contract is for 5 years. It's $18 million. It supports DWSD's stormwater group. DWSD and Great Lakes Water Authorities are co-permittees for the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit issued by the state of Michigan Eagle. This contract ensures that compliance with green stormwater infrastructure reduces wet water flows into the combined system. It also supports the joint efforts that DWSD and Great Lakes do to restore water quality, protect public health, and while staying within the city's financial means to pay for new contracts or new projects. We did advertise this contract for bids. It was out for 38 days. We received 2 proposals, and OHM was the highest ranked proposal. Again, this is a permit that is mandated by by the state of Michigan Eagle for Great Lakes and DWSD to work together to make sure that we have a stormwater program in place to help with the combined sewers and keep the water clean and safe. So DWSD procurement is presented to the Finance Committee to review and recommend to the full board for approval. This contract will also go before the mayor for approval as well as city council, just due to the threshold amounts and the time of year and the length of years for the contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I do have one. I know that we're jointly responsible under the permits and regulatory requirements of the state of Michigan to share responsibility with GLWA. Is this 18 million 5-year term? Is this just our portion?
Yes, this is just our portion. This is for the consultant works that look at those capital projects and they do the design and the plan and a recommendation for the contracts that will come thereafter.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved. And now we'll move back to item C, 2025-74.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Coleman?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation to the Board of Water Commissioners for the City of Detroit Water and Sewer Department, authorizing directors to approve DWSD contract number 6007069 with Dan Kays Incorporated for a soft surface restoration service for a total contract amount not to exceed $270,467.54 for a term of 228 days. This also authorizes directors to take such other actions as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and properly supported. I'm going to ask Ms. Welch to provide context for us.
Yes, this is a short-term contract for soft restoration work that will support the DWSD internal lead service line project. These soft restoration repairs will be for lead service line work that has already been completed, but to not take away from their general restoration tickets that come in on an annual basis. And so the services provided under this contract is exclusively to go back and restore those homes where we've already completed internal lead service line work. We did advertise for 32 days. We received 3 bids and D&K was the lowest responsive bidder. And so procurement is recommending it to the Finance Committee to be moved to full board for approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I meant to ask this question on the last item. What is our threshold that can be approved at the water board level before it has to go to City Council?
It varies, and I can send it to you, but just overall it depends on if it's for goods, if it's for services, if it's professional services, if it's construction work. And so our threshold for city council generally starts at 2 million for goods and services, and then it goes up. It's 5 million, which it caps it for construction services, and that's per fiscal year. So not the entire contract, but how the funding is spent each fiscal year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good question. Are there other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved, and we'll move on to item 2025-76. That's item E. Commissioners,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move that we recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners, Contract 6007082 with Technology Digest, Inc. for an as-needed GIS support services for the total contract not to exceed $475,000 in a term of 2 years, and authorize the director to act appropriately to implement.
thank you. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and properly supported. Okay, Ms. Welch.
This is an IT project, IT contract that supports our IT division with their GIS services. This contract will help DWSD with mapping services for various layering of data analytics to monitor trends and assist the operations group and engineering teams. The services under this contract will take as-built GIS information from our contractor submittals and help to develop layers which DWSD can use to share with other agencies such as fire, police, Department of Public Works. We did advertise for bid for 30 days. We received 8 bids, and Technology Digest was the lowest responsive bidder. It is a 2-year contract for $475,000, and procurement is recommending to the Finance Committee to move to full board for approval.
Thank you. Are there questions? Questions? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. We'll move on to item F. Commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I'd like to make a recommendation to the Board of Water Commissioners for the City of Detroit Water and Sewer Department. Authorize directors to approve DWSD contract number 6007106 with OW Investors LLC, doing business as Mars Company, for software licensing, maintenance, and support services for DWSD meter test benches for a total contract not to exceed the amount of $1.2 million and a term of 5 years. The Board of Water Commissioners also authorizes directors to take such other actions as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote.
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. Ms. Welch?
Yes, this is a 5-year contract, which DWSD uses in our meter operations division. It tests our new water meters, and it also provides testing for the meters that are removed when they are replaced and update. It allows them to see a history of how the meter was functioning to make sure that it was gathering accurate reads. And we also test the new meters before we install them to make sure that they're accurately working. This contract also provides licensed software and maintenance and support services for that meter, for the test bench meter reading. This contract enables meter ops to do various internal things, and we are looking forward to also sharing the test bench with other neighboring cities such as Hamtramck, Dearborn, and different things like that for them to be able to test. This is a sole source contract because they are the proprietary of that meter equipment. In the past, DWSD just did regular amendments like every 2 years, and we did not negotiate new pricing and or services. This new contract is replacing the existing one, and it did save DWSD about $600,000 in costs. If we would have continued to do the amendments because it was sole source, we will be paying $1.8 million for the next 5 years opposed to 1.2. So DWSD is just replacing the existing one with a new agreement with the better terms negotiated for cost and services that meet the needs of the department.
Thank you very much, Ms. Welch. Are there further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. We'll move on to item G, 2025-78. Commissioners.
Madam Chair, let's make sure I'm doing the right one.
Yep.
We,
G.
we recommend, I move that we recommend to the Board of Commissioners the approval of DWSD contract 6007107 with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the design and construction assistance for the Detroit lead service line cutting project for a 25% cost to DWSD and a total contract amount not to exceed $1 million and a term of 1 year through June 30th, 2026, and also authorize the director to do what is appropriate to implement the contract.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Ms. Welch.
Yes, this contract agreement is with the U.S. Army Corps and DWSD. The purpose of this agreement is for them to assist DWSD with the removal of abandoned lead service lines. Historically, when homes were demolished, the lines were cut, crimped, and left in the ground. This project here will dig up and remove them so that we can protect public health and comply with federal and state lead and copper rules. So the abandoned lines will be removed to ensure that no backflow and or surge of potentially lead tainted water will go back into the public water system. This project is actually estimated at $4 million. However, DWSD's cost for this service is only going to be 25%, which is $1 million. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering is going to assist us with doing all of the procurement and federal funding of $3 million to remove approximately 1,500 lead service lines. And this is just our share of the portion. So they will be handling all of the procurement. They will be getting the contractors. DWSD will just be handing over those sites that have been identified through our GIS system. And so it requires board approval as well as mayor approval and city council approval as well.
Thank you. Are there questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
This is very interesting. Is this just for Detroit? Are they doing this across the country? Would you happen to know that answer?
I don't have that information. Sam, you want to?
I can answer that, Marquesha. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Sam Smalley, Deputy Director. Under the Water Resources Development Act, that was, I would say, expanded in scope under the Biden-Harris administration. It was opened up to assist communities with other water-related issues, including lead and copper. So in January of 2023, we, DWSD, wrote a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers asking them for assistance. Because the Army Corps has very stringent right-of-way requirements, the most efficient and effective use of this opportunity would be, as Marquesha said, to remove those lead service line fragments that are still connected to the water system for houses that have been removed or demolished. So I think that we were one of the first to request it. It's been a process to work out something that would be efficient and effective for both parties, but getting up to 1,500 lines removed will count towards our reducing our inventory of lead lines.
Incredible. Thank you.
We're hoping that this can become an annual appropriation as well.
Thank you. I see that Director Brown came off mute. Did you have additional comments?
Oh, thanks for the opportunity. Sam covered it. He covered it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion has been approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Welch. We'll move on now to item H, which is the January 2025 monthly financial review. And I do see that we have our CFO, Istakir Rahman, on. I'm going to turn it over to you for that review.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and good afternoon, Madam Chair. Istakir Rahman, CFO, DWSD. Today, I'm presenting the January financial highlights. So moving on to the first slide. We'll start with overall cash position for DWSD and then operating cash. We continue to maintain reserves enough to cover our operating and capital programs as we move along. On a system-wide basis, our cash and investment position stood at $290.6 million. This will cover all our cash accounts, including operating, improvement, and extension, which we call I&E, construction, and the trust accounts that's held by GLWA. $133.3 million of that 290.6 is in the water fund and 157.3 in the sewer fund. Overall, it represents an increase of $1.8 million when we compare it to the previous month. Water operating cash had $12.3 million, a slight increase compared to our previous month. This $12.3 million equates 3 months working capital, which we prefer to keep in our bank account so as to cover, for the next 3 months if there is any need for it. That amount is approximately $4 million a month. For the sewer fund, it's slightly higher. The 3 months operating expense needs is approximately $5 million a month, so about $15 million. What we have in the sewer operating cash is $22.7 million. It's a little bit over our 3 months cushion. The next slide summarizes our cash position in our improvement and extension fund. Water I&E cash amounted to $21.8 million at the end of the month, a decrease of $5.5 million over December. The decrease is due to disbursements we make for our various capital programs, capital projects, including the lead service line. This balance tends to move up and down depending on at what point in time we get reimbursed from our funding sources. Sewer, on the other hand, is just the opposite. We had an increase of $4.2 million. It stood at $45.1 million, and that's because by the cutoff date, which is for the month of January, we received a reimbursement for our SRF projects. Construction fund, no significant change, so we'll just move on to the next. This is the cash held in trust held by GLWA on our behalf. This had a $31.4 million at the end of January, an increase of $1.1 million over December. Retail water receipts, the money we collect from our customers, $11.3 million in January, exceeded our target collection by 1.1. So our target collection for the month for the water fund is $10.2 million. This receipt also exceeded our December collection by $1.4 million. Sewer had $43.6 million at the end of January. This also had an increase of $1.3 million when we compare it to December. Retail receipts for the sewer fund had $26.4 million in January, also exceeded our target collection by $1.3 million. For the sewer, the target collection is slightly higher and it stands at $25.1 million. Moving on from cash to our receivables. January sales of $37.8 million had a slight decrease by $3.2 million, roughly 8% compared to December. This is mainly due to an adjustment we made to our sales for government customer class. Sales in all other customer classes remain fairly consistent compared to the previous month. Government sales decreased due to a resolution of a meter issue at Belle Isle, which was fixed in January of 2025. The impact of this issue was roughly $1.8 million. Receivables overall of $300 million for all our active accounts increased by $1.2 million, roughly 4%. January's cash collection was a little bit better compared to December. We had $35.6 million, an increase of $1.7 million when we compare to December. Active residential accounts continue to increase. For the month of January, we had a $2.3 million increase, about 1.1%, although the days in receivables decreased by 14 days in January. Allowance for doubtful accounts is approximately 77% of the total receivable balance. We continue to make allowance for any uncertainty in collectibility of our receivables, so that amount is fairly consistent with the previous month in the mid-70s. This includes tax roll as well as inactive accounts. A snapshot of our collection rates historically over the last 3 months. It's a 3-month moving average. Residential collection rates for the last 3 months averaged around 78%. January, as I mentioned before, had a slightly better collection rate compared to the previous month. Our January collection rate for residential customers increased to 86.1%, compared to 73.5% in December and 75.5% in November, which certainly is a very positive sign. Commercial and industrial customers continue to be strong. Our 3-month rolling average remained consistent in the high 90s. Drainage-only collection rate for January also increased to 74.2%, compared to 70% in December. The 3-month rolling average is at 67.5%, and is considered low compared to other customer classes and our expectations based on nationwide averages. Residential and drainage collection continue to be a concern for us. We're making all efforts with different kind of programs to increase our collection there. The January's overall combined collection rate for all active customers stood at 87.2% and was higher than December by a few percentage points. The 3-month moving average rate for all our customer classes was 83.5%, pretty comparable to December of 83.8%. Switching gears again, moving on to our matrix and for our commodity sales. January actually volume fell short of the budget by 3.54% and was also less when we compared to December, the last month, and January of 2024. The fall is really reflected here is because of an adjustment we made to our MCF based on fixing a meter issue that I mentioned before. On a year-to-date basis, actual volume was 2.1% under seasonally adjusted budget. This is also impacted by the adjustment we made. December actual commodity revenue exceeded the budget by 6.5%, but was a little bit lower when we compare with December and January of 2024. On a year-to-date basis, commodity revenue was just 0.1% under seasonally adjusted budget. Moving on, nothing unusual here. We had a positive variance for both of the water meter equivalents as well as service revenue, increasing by roughly 3% across the board for both the meter equivalents as well as the service charge revenue compared to the budgets. Sewer commodity matrix is short of the budget by 12.3%. Again, as I mentioned before, an adjustment we made in December. It's a one-time adjustment, so you'll see this fall, both in terms of our sewer volume as well as our revenues because of an adjustment made. Without the adjustment, obviously, the percentage differences are not as much as it's shown here. So since it's a one-time adjustment, we'll just move on from here and hoping that sales as well as volume would be pretty consistent with the previous months as well as with the budget. No concerns here for sewer service charge matrix and revenues. On an overall basis, we are showing a 4.3% excess over our budgeted numbers, both for sewer counts, meter counts, as well as the sewer service charge revenue. So nothing unusual here. It's exceeding our expectation by roughly 4%. And finally, our chart on our drainage charge matrix and revenue, our BIA, which is the billable impervious acres, exceeded the budget by 0.3%. It was lower by 0.8 compared to December and 0.3% over January of 24. On a year-to-date basis, we are pretty much at par with the budget. It's just a difference of 0.1%. Actual drainage revenue, however, is falling short of the budget, and mainly because of an adjustment we made to one of our major customers. And there was a $1.4 million drainage credits given in January that actually reduced the actual revenue for the month. Again, very unusual, a one-time adjustment. We just need to probably next month will be hopefully at par with the budget. On an overall basis, as a result of that adjustment as well, we are 4.5% below budget so far in the fiscal year. So this was short. I'm done with my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that January review. Are there any questions or comments?
Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you. No questions on the January review. I think in terms of our agenda, we're at planning calendar. And the only item we had for January was the monthly financial review. Do you have any other comments on the planning calendar?
No
Mr. Gray?
comments, no changes to the planning calendar, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item number 10, any other matters to come before this committee? Hearing none, our next meeting is scheduled May 7th, 2025, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next meeting, the CIP doesn't start till 1:45, so we have a few minutes, about 8 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Coleman?
Yes,
Oh.
time now is 1:45. I would like to call the Capital Improvement Program and Operations Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Coleman?
Present, Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Davis?
Present, Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Present, Detroit, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioners, always good to see you. Be careful, Commissioner Kenlock. Looks like you're in the car.
Oh, no, I'm at a cemetery. I'm fine.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Next, I'd like to call for approval as the agenda as presented, please.
Move
Mr.
approval with any necessary corrections.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, this motion passes. Line item number 4, approval of the minutes from March 5th, 2025 as presented. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
It has been moved. Can we have a second?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions? Any abstentions? Hearing none, this motion also passes. Line item number 5, public participation. Do we have anyone that has any comments or concerns?
Mr. Chair, Brian Pekapop, Public Affairs Director, and I do see attendees, but I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Okay. All right, going once, going twice. Thank you, Brian. Moving on to next item, number 6, communications. I see we have none. Number 7, unfinished business. None. New business. Line item A, 2025 TAC 80. CPI FY 26 to 2030. Our budget, April 2nd, 2025.
Yeah,
Good to see you again. How's it going?
yeah, good. How are you?
Great.
Great. So, good afternoon again, commissioners. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'll be presenting the capital improvement plan for the 5-year planning cycle, as well as the FY 26 capital budget today. We'll start with the first slide. It's a summary at a very high level of our 5-year plan, as well as our FY 26 capital budget. You see here, the FY 26 to 30 CIP plan provides for $542 million in water system improvement and $819 million of sewer improvements over the next 5-year planning cycle. This is a total capital commitment of $1.4 billion over the next 5 years for both the water system as well as the sewer system. When we look at the capital budget just for the FY 26, we are planning for $274.9 million investment in our infrastructure. This would be inclusive of water to the tune of $115 million and sewer close to $160 million just for 26. Also, the chart tells you 66.5% of our 5-year budget is for water main and sewer line replacements and related projects. These are all infrastructure-related projects, planning, design, and construction. Approximately $152.1 million have been committed to lead service line over the next 5 years. Also, $240 million are also planned for stormwater infrastructure projects over the next 5 years. The next slide is a summary of our kind of revenues and expenses, the cash inflows and cash outflows. You'll see that the left side of that slide summarizes the water I&E fund as well as the bond fund, and the right side is the sewer. It tells us about where the funding is coming from, namely grants, state revolving fund, or lease payments. And the midsection tells us about where we are trying to expend this money in terms of lead service line, other capital projects, information technology projects, or facilities improvement. So the revenues equal the expenses, but they kind of summarizes by source. The first part is I&E, the second part is water fund, bond fund. This is the bond money that we intend using for our capital projects. There's $35 million expected, I'm sorry, $38 million expected outlay just for the bond fund in the water sector. And the sewer side, similarly, we have different sources of funding here, including grants and state revolving funds and I&E. The midsection is telling me about the various categories of expenditures where we are intending to spend our revenues. And in the bottom side is the bond outlay, $24 million in the sewer fund that we expect to spend out in 26. The next slide is a summary of funding sources, all these expenditures, and these are the funding sources where the money is expected to fund our projects. Just for 25-26, you'll see $34.6 million we are expecting in grant money. 16.5 million of the 34.6 is really for lead service line replacement, and 18.1 million is for water main replacement projects. In the sewer fund, again, for 25-26, we have $84.2 million roughly in grant money expected in FY26. 60 million of that is for alley sewer project. 7 million is for the Brightmore Phase 1 project, and $5.2 million is for the Jefferson Chalmers sewer upgrade project. The balance in here for the grant funded projects represents various projects throughout the sewer fund. I just want to caution here that these are planning numbers. We are anticipating these grant funds to be coming our way in 26, but given the current environment in the current administration at the federal level, there's a little bit of an uncertainty in terms of are we going to get these grants or not. But for planning purposes, these are some of the commitments that the federal government made, and based on those commitments, we have made arrangement or made provision in our CIP plan for funding our capital infrastructure. The next few slides are very detailed description of our projects. It summarizes each project by the contract number, as well as the funding source. If it is an A or an N or a P, A stands for an active projects, N stands for a project that's new. And if there's a P, it means it's in procurement process. The funding source, and as well as the total project cost in what has been approved by you, the committee, as well as the board through June 30th, 25, and then it spreads out the next 5 years anticipated expenditures for the 5-year planning cycle. So there's a slide, there are slides for water projects as well as sewer projects. I'm not going to go line by line, but it's there for your review. Also in the slides, we have broken down our total IT projects, as well as our projects for acquiring vehicles and heavy equipment, and all the projects that relate to facilities improvement that we are planning for the next 5-year cycle. At the end of this, we are expecting that you would approve it and then recommend it to the full board for approval on April 16th. There is a resolution here at as the next item. But basically that's the presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions at this time? Thank
I
you.
have none.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I say I have none.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next item up is I see we have an agenda item, line item B, 2025-83. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I
please.
move that the committee recommends to the Board of Water Commissioners, to approve the proposed five-year capital improvement plan for the fiscal year 2020 to 2030 for the water supply system in the amount of $350,000 and for the sewage disposal system in the amount of $819,040,000 respectively, and the fiscal year 2026 capital budget for the water supply system in the amount of $115,260,000 and for the sewage disposal system in the amount of $159,650,000 respectively, and that further authorize the director and chief fiscal officer to take such other action as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote.
Mr. Chairman, I support.
Right, it has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any no votes? Hearing none, this motion passes. So I see there's an attachment to this. I'm assuming we just went over this, the 26 TAC 30 CPI budget.
Yeah, these are all the projects that are attached to the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 9, planning calendar. Review and approval of 5-year DWSD CIP fiscal year 2026 to 2030.
Yeah, that's what we just did, Commissioner. There are no other changes to the planning calendar.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Are there any other matters to be brought before the body at this time? Seeing none, I ask for a motion to have this, our next meeting, is scheduled for May 7th. A motion to adjourn, please.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Boom, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Bye.
So our next meeting is not to 2:15.
Congratulate everyone on their promptness.
Is that
Hope I can do the same.
what meeting is that?
Customer service is coming up next at 2:15. Did you hear me, Commissioner Kenlock?
I gotta close it because I gotta start the meeting. Okay.
Hmm.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Garcia.
Hi.
How are things? I believe it's 2:15.
In a minute.
1 minute, okay. Thank you. My watch is a little fast then.
How you doing today, Madam Chair?
I'm doing very well, my dear. Very well. A little bit but too much to do, but that's the case for many of us.
Okay, Commissioner Blackman.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call to order the Customer Service Committee.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We need a roll call.
Chairperson Blackman,
President Detroit.
Commissioner Forte,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
There's a
Madam
quorum.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Your motion.
Move
Support.
approval.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next item is the approval of the minutes of March 5th. Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Garcia, seconded by Commissioner
Support.
Forte. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of March 5th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next item is public participation. Is there anyone who has indicated a desire to speak before this committee?
Madam Chair, there is one hand raised.
All right, then.
Actually, there's more than one now.
Uh-huh.
And it's the first one, Madam Chair, is Cecily McClellan.
Did you want to read the public comment in case they were not present earlier?
Yes, I can do so because I did see that there's some new folks online.
Okay.
To make a comment, please raise your hand using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device using the Zoom app. If you are calling into the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. During public comment, after your name is called, you will be given permission to unmute. In order to begin speaking, you will have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon, if you're online or on the Zoom app, or *6 if you are calling in. You will have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment. There will be a timer indicating your remaining time on the screen. If you're online and make a comment, we kindly request you fill out the comment card link that's located in the chat. By filling out the card, we will have your contact information to follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a phone number will be provided for you. You will only be called upon once. Once the chair closes public comment, there will be no other comments from the public, and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the committee meeting. Thank you for your attention. And again, Madam Chair, the first person is Cecily McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Peckinpah. Ms. McClellan, welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Again, Cecily McClellan, we the people of Detroit. And I'm calling because we continue to be concerned about the enrollment process for the Detroit Lifeline program. As we've indicated, there has been a letter that has been going out to Lifeline or former Lifeline applicants indicating that they are missing documents. The letter is coming from DWSD Matt Phillips, indicating that the reason they were denied was as a result of missing documents. We have had the opportunity to contact Wayne Metro in regards to missing documents, and they have no record of that denial. What they say is that clients now are being enrolled based on a list that they receive from DWSD. This concerns me because we know that there's been a drastic reduction in funding. At the height of Lifeline, we know it was approximately 67 million available. Currently, as our understanding, it's about 11 million, which would service approximately 11,000 residents annually. Based on the your webpage, it indicates that there are still over 12,544 enrolled in Lifeline. But in reviewing your current report, customer service report, there's an indication that there are only 8,139. That's a difference of over 4,000 residents. But it also brings to mind that Wayne Metro indicates that they're not enrolling any new residents into Lifeline. Based on the numbers that we're looking at and based on the report you're going to present today, there appears to be some room to admit some new clients. So our concern are two elements. One, how are clients being enrolled in this process? How do a resident get on the list that appears to be supplied by DWSD based on Wayne Metro's report? And is there availability on the Lifeline program based on the numbers that is in the customer service report? And hopefully you can address those concerns. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We're going to ask for the remainder of the comments to be made before we do any response.
Okay, Madam Chair, the next person is Narelle Hemphill.
Thank you. Ms. Hemphill, welcome. Ms. Hemphill, can you hear me?
I can now. It took a minute for the mute button to appear.
Right.
Good afternoon, Attorney Narelle Hemphill. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the legal and policy manager at We the People of Detroit. I just want to underscore everything that Ms. McClellan was saying and also raise that we are starting to see a lot of the tension and devastation that these rate increases and the diminishing of the Lifeline plan is happening. The effects of what is happening in the community amongst residents that we run into. There's a lot of panic and concern that their water will be shut off and what that will mean for them. A lot of uncertainty about whether they are in or not in the Lifeline and what their bill is or isn't. Some people still say that they never received any notifications in their water bills about recertification, that the only way they found out was by calling in and asking Wayne Metro. Some people received text messages to recertify. I think that, there needs to be some type of level setting with the community so community knows exactly what is happening, how it's happening. We definitely need more transparency for this transition process because it just seems to be the more people we talk to, the more stories we get, excuse me, and the more questions we have. So we know that the Lifeline program was a temporary program, a temporary assistance program based upon available funding. And now that DWSD is working to continue the program, knowing that we don't have a lot of those federal funds that became available with Lifeline, there needs to be some transparency in this process as we go from the Lifeline to, as we transfer people from Lifeline to regular billing. We know that Easy Pay is not an assistance program and instead is a bill payment process, that replaced the 1030/50 billing process, which was not a good way to manage the bills and arrears. So Easy Pay is a little bit better, given that it does allow residents 36 months to pay off those arrears. But again, if people cannot afford their water bills, they cannot afford their arrears on top of that. So again, we need to figure out a way to make these water bills affordable for all residents of Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hemphill. Are there any other customers with or people with their hands raised or wishing to speak before the committee?
Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised. Oops. Oh, just as I said that, Mr. D'Amico Williams raised his hand.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. This is D'Amico Williams. I'm the Chief Executive Director of Hydrate Detroit. I just wanted to get a few answers for check-in. Again, I'm going to throw myself on the body of this table and ask this board to not go forward with shutting off water this year. I am asking that you all do not move in the direction and offer people opportunity as they should. You know, people getting their taxes, and the water department has not created any incentive. I'm tired of being fought about this. I'm tired of excuses, and I'm tired of going back and forth with this board when all I wanted to do was to come and work together with this board so that we can assist Detroiters in a fashion that's not fear, inflammatory, or also putting them in further danger, or also in any type of scaring. I understand you all have financial issues, and the more I pray, the more I continue to try to offer solutionary advice, plans, and even collaboration. But the continuing wall and barrier among the community and DWSD has gotten so large and tall. You could claim that we're all working together, but I don't feel that way. You could claim that you're talking to me, but I haven't been reached out by anybody since I offered myself 2 to 3 months ago to come up with a plan to work with people and paying their water bills and not being shut off in light of the lifeline being paused. And also, I have not heard from anyone, this department, Wayne Metro, or any of the advocates to have a special meeting so we can all come together and nip this in the bud so we're not arguing back and forth across this table this summer in regards to this situation. All I'm seeking, and I'm going to continue to seek, is a solution. I still want water amnesty for the city of Detroit, 30 to 50% off water bills, especially for the first month. And also for residents that have been paying their bills to get relief. DTE has been choking us. We have to worry about paying them. And then the water, I mean, after what you all done in Southwest Detroit, which is commendable, I would hope that would go. Ruby Riley and Auntie Nay, they should have their basements and their furnaces replaced. That's unfair that you're going to replace Southwest Detroit and make them whole, but residents from the 2016, 2021, 2022 floods have not been made whole. I would hope that there will be a solution and a plan for that. Thank you.
Mr. Williams. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before the committee?
Madam Chair, there is Gwendolyn Howard. Gwendolyn Howard.
Hey, Ms. Howard, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call. And I won't be repetitious on my colleagues from We the People of Detroit Water Peeps Division, but in that continuing in that conversation, as we happen to have a neighborhood group that time that was concerned that a lot of them had gotten cut off the Lifeline program, but not understanding why. And not understanding why, because we were in a group setting, we got to make a call to Wayne Metro. And as we asked the questions to the service person that answered the phone, she finally said, look, we're not taking any more applications. We didn't have anything to do with that letter that they have, that they didn't turn in their information. We are not taking any redeterminations at this time. And that's the end of this conversation. With that being said, we did get to solicit them to do the easy pay because they were coming off the Lifeline program. They didn't have large balances right now on their water bill. But their concern is since I did everything right and I had figured this into my budget, what am I supposed to do moving forward? Well, we asked that a couple of weeks, at last month's meeting, thinking that you were going to give it to us in writing or tell us something because that was your response. And you didn't bring it up at the beginning of this meeting either. So we still don't know what to tell our residents in our community about this water situation. Things are just, we understand, but getting them to understand that they don't want their bill to start building back up and their income didn't change. What are we to tell the residents moving forward? Because like I said, the lady said that your name wasn't on this. Oh, that was the other thing. She came back and said, your name is not on this list. You have to contact DWSD. And what list is that? Because, and how did they get on it? Since they said that they turned in all of their information, they had copies and even an email confirmation, but nothing happened moving forward. So yeah, we're harking on this because they're asking us, and we don't work for DWSD, but we work with DWSD. So therefore, give us some directions or some directives to tell these customers. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Is there anyone else who has asked to speak before the committee?
Madam Chair, she was the last public commenter.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, I'm trusting that we're going to address some of the concerns that were raised during public participation. I think we've covered some of those things before, but evidently our customers are not getting the same information we're sending out. I would hope that we'll be able to clear up some of the confusion, the misunderstanding, and the customer's frustration when we get into your report.
Yep. Madam Chair, if you'd like, I can certainly respond to, I think, the majority of the questions that were asked. If you,
I would like for you, if you can, Mr. Phillips. Yes.
all right. If you said you would like me to, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
All right. I'll kind of go down. I made some notes, so of the questions, so I'll just kind of go down the list. Okay. So in this is my response back. So first of all, DWSD does not make the determination of eligibility for Lifeline. The determination is made by Wayne Metro. Wayne Metro is empowered to make that decision, which is given by DWSD. Wayne Metro uses the state of Michigan's determination process. It's a system called Empower, EMPOWER. That system is what all applicants use to apply for Lifeline. That system is managed by the state of Michigan. It determines eligibility of each individual person that applies based on their income, their household size, as well as all of the documents that they need in order to determine that eligibility is uploaded into the Empower system. If all of those documents are not made available to the Empower system, Wayne Metro cannot make determination. So the system that the state of Michigan offers actually makes the determination and states whether or not all documents have been supplied, whether or not the income is valid or eligible for the program. So that's number one. Number two.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Let me stop you there because that was one area that evidently there is some confusion. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, that there is some confusion about the process for keeping customers on the Lifeline program and who has the responsibility. I know the people that were speaking today have been in contact with you and you have been meeting with them and communicating the process. So from your perspective, what is the confusion between what our friends advocates are saying and what is actually happening?
Hey, Matt, before you answer that, I just want to get one other point in also on that same line.
Thank you, Director.
Is this a new system for customers that's different than it was in past years?
No, sir. It's been in place at least for the last 24 months. So if anybody's been on the program and this is what they're concerned about, and their concerns that they're raising is about the recertification process. To be on the program before, they had to use this system. It's also the same system that they use for DTE when they're applying for their assistance program, which is through the LIHEAP program. All of this all uses the same system, which is the Empower system. It is, to my knowledge, nothing that's new.
No. Yeah, I'm talking about Empower itself. It was my understanding that, let's say in the last 2 years, that application was changed and it's a new process, but you're saying it's not. It's been around for a decade or more?
No. The Empower has been around for just a couple of years, Gary.
Yes,
It's
24
yeah,
months.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be clear about that part. Thanks.
yeah.
Well, before you go any further though, do our advocates understand how this works? How the Empower program works, how customers are notified and recertified, and the process for doing that? Because what I'm hearing is there is some area of confusion about the process.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
I think one of the biggest concerns maybe is that communication that's going on between the complaints that we're getting. I think we do whatever we can do. I think it would be important if Matthew or the director would call Wayne Metro and get a little meeting together to find out, are they really out of money and that's why they're denying people? Have they used up all their money? There's a lot of things that we don't know because we're not part of Wayne Metro. So I think that would be really efficient for us to go that one step further and meet with them and find out if the process has changed. We may have not been notified, and the communication between us and the people that are applying and complaining that they haven't recertified. Did they miss something on their application? Can they appeal the process? All of that is something I think needs to be really dedicated to the information to getting out to the community. I think that would be, at least we're doing our part, I think.
Yeah. Commissioner Garcia, I can certainly respond to that. And that is, I have said it at least since mid-December.
Yeah.
Every month, the funding has been exhausted. Wayne Metro's message has been since December 5th on their phone system that at this time, we're no longer accepting applications due to the fact that funding is exhausted. If additional funding becomes available, we'll let you know. The letter that I sent, which was done on behalf of Wayne Metro, said the exact same thing. As funding becomes available, additional residents may become eligible for the program. So it's in there. We even took the additional step of enrolling every customer that was not, or every resident that was not eligible or could not make it into the Lifeline program. I'll use the air quotes of auto-enrolled them into the Easy Pay program to try to give them an additional benefit of keeping their water on and in a way to manage their system. But again, funding is exhausted. I'll say it as loud as I can. Funding is exhausted at this time. I have our entire organization that works on Lifeline has weekly meetings. And it's not just once a week, it's numerous times a week with Wayne Metro to keep updated on this. We continue to have it every single week, including this week. Funding is exhausted. I asked the question on Monday at 3:30 when we had our last meeting with Wayne Metro. And at this time, there is no additional funds coming from the state of Michigan for the water assistance program. They know that Wayne Metro is out of funding. If additional funds become available, they've told the state of Michigan they would accept the funds if nobody else in the state is spending them in other areas. In fact, we even heard the unfortunate news this week that at the federal level, the LIHEAP program, which is the big brother to LIWAP in the water funding program, the low income housing energy efficiency program, the entire federal staff has been eliminated from LIHEAP effective yesterday morning. And that program has been available since August 13th, 1981. 1981. I'll just repeat that. And now the staff has been eliminated. So I just say that to, and again, the other question that came up, sorry, I'm just going to keep going down the list. The difference between 12,000 and 8,000 in the month of February, yes, 12,000 individuals were receiving the Lifeline benefit. That was done as a courtesy by DWSD until Wayne Metro was able to process all of the applications and review everyone that applied through the Empower system. We do know now today that there is 8,136, as my report today states. That is for the month of March. Those are individuals that received the Lifeline benefit in the month of March. That's the difference between the two, February going into March. So that's all that the funds were available for. As far as a list being provided by DWSD, DWSD does not provide a list of who is eligible for Lifeline. That list comes from the Empower system as well as Wayne Metro. We do not make that determination in the Empower system. That is done by Wayne Metro. We do not provide a list. In fact, Wayne Metro provides us a list on a weekly basis to tell us who has become eligible for the Lifeline program. And then we apply that to the billing, our DWSD billing system of who receives the $18 or the Lifeline benefit. So the list actually comes from Wayne Metro, not from DWSD. So this is on record. So I just want to make that clear.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Phillips, I just got one question just to clarify, because I also heard a use of a word that I want to make sure we're clear on, and that if we can clarify that for everyone, that there are recertifications, and the recertifications are also those who are attempting to recertify, the funds are exhausted.
Yes.
And so if you think you've got a safe spot or a safety net just because you're going to be recertified, that is not happening. It's the funds are exhausted. Is that correct?
There at this point in time, there will be no further individuals added to the Lifeline program due to the fact that the funds available to allow that benefit to happen, the Lifeline benefit, have been exhausted. Does that answer the question?
That answers clarifies for me. Recertifications, okay. There are no funds.
And if we want to be very specific about recertifications, we can also be specific about somebody that's net new, never been on Lifeline. There is no funds available for that either. So
yeah, that's what I heard.
I'll just add that extra. I'll add that extra piece in there in case somebody thinks that's a loophole.
I just wanted to be clear for myself, because I don't know if
Thank you, Commissioner.
So maybe, Madam Chair, I think that information needs to be given out to the community that it does, my understanding is that it doesn't matter if you've been on Lifeline, if there's no monies. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you apply or not, there is any funds available. And that happened to the repercussion of what happened in Lansing last year. And I think that we can ask Metro to go to the governor and see if there's anything in their budgets that they could look at. But I think the information needs to be out there to the community so they're not taking the blame on you all, because I think that's what's happening. I think they don't see a separation between Detroit, Water Department and Wayne Metro, because they're the ones that are the fiduciary taking care of this issue, So that's my biggest concern that I see.
Commissioner Garcia, as I understand, the communication has gone back and forth between our advocates and our communities and the department. That information has been given over and over. It's just that it's not being accepted.
I think that's it. I think we just gotta,
Well, I don't know what you can do. I don't know. But I have great sympathy for those who are trying to help others, as we are as well. But I don't know what else we can do but state the facts as they exist over and over, which is what I understand we are doing with all of our advocates and with our customers.
Well, and the other thing I think, Madam Chair, that's real important, maybe Mr. Phillips can clarify it, is I think that's why we need to push that other program that says, you apply for A, B, and C. And I think that's really important that they pay their bill, and then every month, that program I think may be the only solution. Am I correct?
Are you talking about Easy Pay?
Easy Pay.
Yeah, if you're talking about, Commissioner Garcia, if you're talking about the Easy Pay program, yes, that is
it's one solution. That's all I'm saying. Maybe we need a
solution, right? It may not be the solution, and
it can't be the only solution, but
right. It is another solution. And again, I'll just repeat it one more time. Anybody that, all the residents that applied for Lifeline that received the letter to say, you didn't get into Lifeline because the funds have been, or I'm sorry, because they were missing documentation, so they didn't get onto the program. And because of that, even if they did turn in their documents today, there's just no more funding left. We took all, I'm going off memory, but let's use 4,000 of those letters went out. All of those individuals that received that letter, the Director Brown authorized all those individuals to be placed onto the Easy Pay program. And we enrolled all those individuals and took their arrearages and spread it out over 36 months to make it easier for them. So we did that. And so that's already been done. That's already been applied to the next billing cycle. So the only thing that a customer has to do is if they don't want that and they just want their normal bill, they can call us and we'll pull them off of it. But as a courtesy, we put everybody on that program.
Easy Pay. Okay, thank you,
Easy Pay.
sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Madam Chair, may I ask one additional question? And it speaks to just exactly the point that Matt was raising, and that's the transition. So if I were on the Lifeline program, I got the letter. Let me just say, on the Lifeline program, theoretically, would anybody have any arrearages? I mean, if you've been paying all along, and you pay, let's say, you pay the $18, you don't.
Commissioner Forte, yes. If you would assume that if you were on the Lifeline program paying $18 a month, that you wouldn't have any arrearages because it was erased when you were originally first time enrolled. The unfortunate part is that is not
always
the case for everyone.
Yeah.
And I'll report even those that, and I'm looking over at my screen because that's actually one of the slides that I'll cover, is that for the 8,136 that are currently enrolled, which the majority of those were all recertifications, they still had over $1 million in arrearages when they came onto the program. So that answers two questions for you. Maybe not one you wanted to hear.
Yeah, so those some of those who were recertified and are in the program now do have arrearages.
That is correct. And those that are in it are that was erased when they came back in a second time.
Yeah. Okay. So they continue to have arrearages, which in the Easy Pay program, it may be more costly to them on the transition because they do have to make arrangements to pay over the 36 months their arrearages. In addition, then they will, have a monthly payment. And so I think that's also the source of what's coming up. That's the information the advocates are receiving from some of our customers, because those customers they have arrearages. Even though they were in Lifeline, they still have arrearages. And those arrearages will require cash to pay once they enter Easy Pay. So just so that's what my understanding is. And I think that is part of the source. There is no Lifeline program to go back to. Yeah. There is no third time arrearages are going to be taking away. It's now Easy Pay. I just want to make sure we understand the source of their discomfort.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to recess this meeting and open up the HR meeting.
We will recess to the call of the chair. Did you hear me?
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll now call to order the Human Resources Subcommittee. Madam Secretary, could we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Davis.
Present, Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Blackman.
Present, Detroit.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now recess to the call of the chair.
Thank you. We will resume the Customer Service Committee. I wanted to make sure that Commissioner Forte had her questions answered, and or Director Brown, if you wanted to comment.
Yeah, Commissioner Forte made a very good point. When you got into Lifeline, your arrears were paid off. And if you had have made the $18 payment for every month, then you would be going forward without a balance or with a very, very, very small balance. But the reason that there's an accumulation of $1 million is because people did not make the $18 payment over more than 18 months. And therefore they have these balances. But the point, I didn't want that point to be lost, that if you had got into the program and you were able to fulfill your end of the deal by making the $18 payment, then you would be going forward with
No payment.
little or no balance. That's all. I just wanted to highlight that point.
Thank you, Director Brown. Okay.
I get, Madam Chair, I guess the question would be, do we have an estimate or at least a percentage of the people that still fell behind?
Yeah, we can get those numbers. It's quite significant. We can get you the numbers of the people that never made an $18 payment. They got into the program, they never made one payment. And so we can get you those numbers.
Thank you.
I think we missed, Madam Chair, I think that reasoning why I think we need to have that information is that I think that, you know, an effort has been put out there to assist. And if that didn't help, it isn't Detroit Metro problem or even ours. It has to go back to the residents. And I think that I think we've done everything we possibly can to assist. And I think it isn't just Wayne Metro that's out of funds, so is Thaw. You know, I mean, all of these people are out of funds to assist. And we haven't had any information since then why they haven't paid their bills. So I just think we need to have that information.
The director has.
Did 10% not meet their goal? Did 20%? I just need to understand, because we're doing everything we can as commissioners and it's this department. And I just think that when people come back and say, you're not doing enough, I'm not sure that they understand that all the efforts have been done.
Point well taken, Commissioner. And I think that the director is hearing you, and we will make every bit of information available to all parties who are wanting to be assisting us in helping our customers, as well as to the general community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Madam Chair, if I could just make one last comment, and that was, there was one more question that was the advocates and those that made comments today were asking for some type of response from DWSD. And I know the director at the last formal session of the board meeting, when that question came up 3 weeks ago, the director specifically asked for those requests for those individuals that had stated that they had applied for the Lifeline program. They had received the letter that said that they were denied due to missing documentation, but that was not true. Director Brown asked that those individuals come directly to me, or the names be sent directly to me so that I could check with Wayne Metro, and I have not received one. So I will make the offer one more time that if any of the individuals that spoke today feel that someone did what they were supposed to do, but were for some reason denied, I certainly would, welcome that individual's name and address, and I will certainly look into it. And there is, to the last part of that question, there is an appeal process. That is something that is offered through the state of Michigan, through the Empower system. They can make a formal appeal that something was, wrong. There is that process, and every person that applies knows that that's there, and Wayne Metro knows that as well, and can offer that assistance.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, for clarifying.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, I think we have responded as well as we can to the concerns that were raised on that. And would you please continue, sir?
Sorry to send us off track.
We didn't. Okay, that was public participation. So public participation is closed. We're now moving on. We have communications. We have none. Unfinished business. We have none. Under new business, we will now have our customer service presentation.
Madam Chair, thank you. I will share my screen, and Ms. Crowell will kick us off.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners. How are you this afternoon?
Ms. Crowell, are you there?
Kim, we can barely hear you. Volume is very, very low.
Crowell, can you hear us? You're showing as being on mute, Ms. Crowell. You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me clearly now?
You now.
There
All
you go.
right. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. How are you today? Kimberly Crowell, Customer Service Manager. So during the month of March of 2025, we received over 59,700 calls and we responded to over 6,600 email inquiries. Our total customer touch points was at 66,350. We also had over 3,159 contacts per day versus our average 1,400 budgeted calls per day. In total, with our customer service calls, our emails, and our customer service portal, which are our self-service interactions, we had over 158,527 contacts for the month of March. Our customer contact volume was at 126% over forecast per day. 13% of our calls were answered within a 2-minute time frame. And also, we received over 2,900 calls that were all related to the Southwest 54-inch water main break. Our average speed of answer for the month of March for our emergency line, our average wait time was at 13 minutes and 34 seconds with a 20% service level. Our non-emergency line was at 30 minutes and 56 seconds at a 2% service level. Our customer satisfaction score, which is our CSAT score, was at 81%, and our first call resolution was at 68%. Would like to also, it's worth noting that our customer satisfaction goal, we have exceeded this goal for 19 straight months. So even in spite of our 30-minute wait time on our non-emergency lines, the customers who filled out the survey were still satisfied with the services being provided. And I would just like to really give a shout out to the customer service team for doing an excellent job by keeping our customer satisfaction goal straight for the 19th month.
Before you move this slide, are there any questions or comments? I think certainly to note that the customer satisfaction was as high as it is commendable, because it would be difficult for me to give a positive comment if I had not had some sort of resolution at that time or had to wait longer than I thought I should. So evidently our customers are responding in a positive way that helps us. I think it helps our customer service representatives as well understand they are doing the best they can, and that customers are not holding us responsible for not dealing with their issues in a manner that really helps them understand what's going on for in their particular account. So I think even though we may not be satisfied, accommodations are in order.
Thank you very much. And even
Question mark,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, I would like to know the Easy Pay, and you're talking about over 6,500 e-pay was related to the cause. Is that an increase from the month before?
I'm not I have to go and look and see what the call volume was for the Easy Pay calls for the month of February. I can definitely bring that information back to the board.
Now, at the 6,000 people that the calls were related to the Easy Pay, we have no way to track whether they followed it through or not. They were just calling about the information. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just interested in that. Obviously people are interested and they have gotten the information. That's good to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because you raised that comment, Commissioner. So we received 6,519 Easy Pay calls. How do we determine how many of those got feedback?
Well, basically, these are the calls that we received. Out of the amount of calls that we received, we would have to run a report to actually see how many of those actually enrolled into Easy Pay. Some may just call just to express interest as to how Easy Pay works. So I can definitely bring that information back to the board.
Thank you. I think it would be helpful for us to know, informative for us to know how many of them enrolled in Easy Pay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
on that page on the customer satisfaction, 81%. Is everyone required to take a survey after their call? I'm just wondering, is that representative, for example, of those that had to wait, that had their calls answered on the non-emergency line?
Commissioner
So,
Forte.
oh,
Sorry, Kim. Commissioner Forte, it's not a requirement that they do it. In other words, there's no penalty if they don't do it. But it is offered to 100% of every single person that calls is offered to take a survey. Then there's 3 questions that are asked. So every single person has an opportunity to do it. But requirement is not.
Okay,
There's
so
no
I
way to
guess
require.
then my next question would be, so
Only-
what percent of those that, what percent of the surveys, what does that represent in terms of numbers of calls? Is that 10% of the calls, or 100%, or 50% of the calls?
We can provide that. I don't have that off the top of my head.
I think that would be helpful information to know how many of them actually filled it out, rather than just what percentage they gave us a customer satisfaction rating. So I think Commissioner Forte's question is one that would be helpful for us to see.
we can definitely bring that information back to the board.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions on this before we go? Please proceed.
Okay, next slide, please. This slide here, this shows our trend over the last 6 months. So as you can see, it goes from October all the way up to March. And this is like the calls received, our key performance indicator. We're staffed to, again, 1,400 calls per day, which averages out to be like 29,400 calls per month. We have definitely exceeded that for the month of March. Again, the average speed of answer, which is what I've already indicated on the previous slides, it was at 21 minutes and 36 seconds. Our service level, again, was at 13%. So you're able to see on this particular slide how our call volume fluctuates from month to month.
Before you leave this, do we have customers making comment about how long they had to wait when they finally are connected to one of our representatives?
Customers do express concerns as far as the length of time that they do have to wait. For the most part, we handled it the best way that we can. We explained to them that, we have we have a very large call volume and we're trying to answer the calls as quickly as possible. We thank them for their patience. We express empathy and we, for the most part, the customer is satisfied. But we do address their concerns the best that we can.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions pertaining to this slide? Okay, then I will turn it over to Chief Customer Service Officer Matthew Phillips as he go over the planning calendar, which includes Easy Pay, Lifeline, and the Southwest Water Main. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Burwell.
Thank you.
Madam, thank you, Kim. Madam Chair, we'll move on to the next item, which is the planning calendar, if that's okay with you?
Yes, please.
All right, and I'll answer Commissioner Forte's question. There was 2,338 individuals that took a survey, after call survey during the month of March. Out of the 59,701 calls is equal to, if I'm good at I'm not good at percentages, but I believe that's 4%, 3.9% of individuals that called us took a survey and provided a response.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to
So, Madam Chair, I just make one comment. So those 2,000 people were at the level of 81%, very satisfied with their, with their interaction. But we do have a large amount we don't know.
Yeah,
that is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just a matter that they don't want to take the time to do it. Is that the case, Mr. Phillips?
I would just say, how many of you all at the end of the phone calls you make stay on the call afterwards when the rep says, "All right, thank you, have a nice day, Ms. Forte," and do you take the survey afterwards or do you hang up? So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the planning calendar. Lifeline, receiving the Lifeline benefit for the March billing cycle was 8,136. the benefits that that have been provided since in the new fiscal year for Lifeline, which began on October 1st, 2024, $2.6 million in gap payments and $1 million in arrears forgiveness have been provided to those receiving the Lifeline benefit since October 1st. There are 25,734 individuals on Easy Pay, and to date, $5.1 million in installments have been made through Easy Pay. That's not the normal monthly payment. That is just the installment amount, whatever that dollar amount is divided by 36. So I think that's a pretty large number when we look at it divided by 36. And Director Brown, I can see him clapping in the background, so I know he's very pleased. And again, obviously it was part of the presentation because there was no way I could have typed it in while we were here, but I've indicated in writing, Wayne Metro indicated on the 31st, which was Monday, funds have been exhausted and have been committed what they have through September 2025. Because remember, they still, when I say the word committed, they still have to pay the gap payment every month through September 30th. So I just want to make sure that it's both exhausted and committed. Any questions about that?
Any questions, commissioners? Thank you.
All right. All right. And I just wanted to wrap up and I know Director Brown might have a few comments after this, but I just wanted to call out that the DWSD team in general has done an absolute fantastic job on we call it Project 54, but that is the Southwest Detroit water main break that happened 6 weeks ago. It was 6 weeks on Monday. I am very proud to work with Director Brown and be part of his leadership. That he committed to 6 weeks to get a lot of work done in Southwest Detroit. And I just want to say that being part of the team and being part of Director Brown's team has just been an absolute wonderful experience. And I think that the men and women of DWSD that jumped out at 4 o'clock in the morning when this happened on day one to get out there and rescue individuals and be part of the first responders to cleaning up the mess, to replacing people's homes and the mechanicals in it to get ready. And I just wanted to point out, I think this is kind of the big remarkable stuff is 161 out of the 408 homes that were in the impact zone is what we call it. 161 basements have been cleaned and sanitized in the last 6 weeks. 132 new furnaces have been installed. 135 hot water heaters or tanks were installed, 60 electrical panels were replaced, 22 major plumbing repairs were completed since furnaces were out, pipes did freeze and burst in the home. We created a call center and a hotline for residents to call outside of our typical 267-8000 number within just a matter of days, up and running. I believe, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, we hired 16, 18 people. Our HR department came right up to speed and found individuals at a rather rapid pace. And so I'll just kind of leave it at that, but that's just the accomplishments that have been made in the last 6 weeks. Director Brown, anything you'd like to add?
Well, certainly there are a lot of thank yous to go around, and I think we're going to have to do something special for all the people that were involved in this project. As I said in an interview on Channel 4 last night, there's not a project that I'm prouder of than Project 54 and all the men and women at DWSD that jumped in. Especially Dominique, our project manager. She kept us all in line. She's been working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I was getting emails as late as 9 o'clock almost every night from Dominique. She's really stepped up. Barry Brown came over from our permits department. He works on green infrastructure. He was on site every single day, 7 days a week. Tamara from the customer service jumped in, and so many others. I can't name them all. We also gave customers a credit. 418 customers within the footprint a credit for 2 months so that they didn't have to pay a water bill. And we're making provisions for everybody to get at least a 1-year warranty on all of the appliances and the work that was done. So there's a lot more to go on. I wanted to thank everybody. And we're at a later date, we're going to have a more formal presentation on all that was done in that area. Secondly, I just want to level set the expectations for Lifeline, just to put a period on it for today anyway. If and Matt knows the exact numbers, but in order to service everyone that we had in Lifeline a year ago, it would take $25 million. And as you heard from Istaker in the budget presentation a couple of weeks ago, the Great Lakes Authority will give us approximately $2.3 million of the RAP dollars that we use in Lifeline. The state of Michigan's new budget starts in October of this year. And if we don't get any money from the state of Michigan, if we don't get any grant funding, we're certainly going to be pressing them for funding. But if we don't get any, all we have is the 2.3 that we get from GLEWA that are RAP dollars for this program. Now, next week, thousands of water utility workers, executives, staffers will be in Washington for Water Week. I'm going to be there. I'm presenting every day there, trying to find federal dollars for Lifeline. Deb Poshpiece has got me well prepared for the meeting with Congress folks, from the folks in the Senate, and from EPA and the staff in Washington to try to find long-term dollars for Lifeline. And I know that the water advocates will also be there. And so, we thank them in advance for standing with us to try to find additional dollars. We all want the same thing. We know that Lifeline is a national model. It's a great program. The only thing it's missing is long-term funding. And we're going to spend all next week. It's Water Week in the industry, trying to find these dollars in order to get more people on Lifeline. But right now, we have to live within our budget. And we're going to have $2.3 million approximately coming from GLEWA July 1st. And so if no further dollars come, that's all we're going to have to work with. But we won't stop fighting in Lansing and in Washington and with foundations trying to find additional money. So I just want to level set the expectations going forward as to what we're going to be able to do with Lifeline. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to express my gratitude. Our agencies in Southwest Detroit really had really put themselves together and try to help out these the community residents that really were devastated. I'm very grateful for what you all have done. Gary, I know that we called Mr. Phillips because we didn't think the deadline was sufficient. We got some understanding about it, but I know that the deadline was something that they brought up to us at LACE and DHDC. And I just wanted you to look at that. I know that Mr. Phillips did explain about that as long as they put in a claim, that they will be looked at. There was some people that lost a lot. They were renters, and so they weren't owners. So those were the ones that we were trying to help financially. We got some grants to give them down payments to move somewhere else because some of the owners, refused to give them any, just like always, when there's a crisis, you always have some issues. But I wanted to make sure I went on record as someone that lives in Southwest Detroit, who is on the board of directors and the chair of the oldest Hispanic organizations that really have put our staff on call. They were there Saturdays, they were there Sundays, they were there, late at night. So along with the people from the water department. So I just wanted to make sure you all know that it really was an issue when you think about Detroiters, how they come together in a crisis. So muchísimas gracias on behalf of a lot of the people in our community that don't have a voice. Gracias.
Thank you, Commissioner. Glad to hear those good reports. Any other comments? All right. Are there any other matters to come before, where are we now? Our next, yeah, any other matters to come before this committee? Our next meeting is May 7th, and Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. This meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. We will now resume the Human Resources and Organizational Development Committee. Is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
So move, Mr. Chair.
That motion has been made, and is there a second?
You.
I will second it. All in favor of the motion signify by the sign of aye. All opposed, and that motion is carried. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of March 5th?
Approval, Mr. Chair.
And I will second that motion as well. All in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and that motion is carried. We'll now open up public participation. Mr. Peckinpah, are you there, and do we have any hands up?
Mr. Chair, we do have D'Amico Williams hand up.
Okay. Mr. Williams, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioner Davis, and good afternoon to this board. D'Amico Williams, Chief Executive Director, Hydrate Detroit. We service the people in addressing their water shutoff issues. And I just want to respond to the conversation that had been had, in regards to moving forward. I would look forward to hearing when the dates and times, and if there will even be invitations for general community members to join the meeting to find more resources and to find monies. But I don't know why we're doing that when we're being told is it has to come from federal and state rates, and there's no opportunity or no date of when we're going to meet with Mr. Trump and the Congress about this. I just don't see any hope or any forthcoming forbearance, as we had a water affordability legislation that has been denied but was fumbled by some entity within the state. I really want to remain hopeful and I want to remain positive, but it's hard when I'm being told, as well as the rest of the community, oh, well, there's people paying $18, but they haven't paid since they've been on the program, and we don't have no numbers. Or how do we even track those residents? Because I'm pretty sure there's a valid explanation for everything. And if the water department is not responsible, there should be representatives from Rain Metro that should be coming to these meetings or should be providing a report on this. Really want to give faith to this board and this body that they're going to overcome the hurdles and just do the work that's needed. You wouldn't have water advocates like myself keep continuing to pander about your responsibility and how your effectiveness could be to the customers in order to solve these issues so nobody has their water shut off. If you're making a commitment not to shut off water, okay, then you would make the commitment to make sure that people wouldn't be in a situation to where they'd be placed back in shut off status or having the hounds at their door. And, I really want to work forward on this, but the promises and the assurances is not giving a surety and a commitment to make sure. I mean, out of all of us, we're all responsible, including water advocates. We're all responsible. We have to do a better job. And instead of dividing us from that wall, you should be inviting us in the door, Mr. Brown. You should invite us in with you so that we could campaign with you. Stop being against us and start being with us. We all can work on this together. We got to work on this together. Thank you for taking my comments.
All right, Mr. Williams. Mr. Peckinpah, do you see any other hands?
No, Mr. Chair, there are no other hands raised.
All
Mr.
right.
Chair,
Yes.
we need to pause and recess for the opening of the legal committee.
Okay. We will now recess to the call of the chair.
Yes, the Detroit Board of Water Commissioners Legal and Government Affairs Committee meeting will now come to order. Would you please call the roll?
Chairperson Kinlock,
Present.
Commissioner Blackman,
President Detroit.
Commissioner Einhauser.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll now recess to the call of the chair.
All right, thank you. We will now resume the Human Resources Committee. And we will move to communications. We have none, nor do we have any unfinished business. Our new business will be HR metrics, and that will be presented by Director Thornhill of Human Resources.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I will share my screen. Okay, and we will go through our human resources metrics. Since last month, we have acquired 11 additional employees, and that brings us to a total headcount number of 682 employees. And you will see our breakdown here of residents and non-residents. And again, our headcount is climbing in comparison to the previous years. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, I can remember going back several years. I think when I started, there was the total was like 500 and something. So over the years, Ms. Thornton, we have actually increased quite a bit, haven't we?
Yes, we have, Commissioner
Okay.
Garcia.
Was there a goal that we were supposed to, well, I can see the numbers from 2020, you know, 550 all the way down to, is there a, I guess is the question is there was a goal that you all wanted to meet before we didn't need before we didn't need to hire new employees? Was there a goal you were going to reach?
No, we didn't have any goals. Our headcount needs are determined by the business needs.
Okay.
And that's how we drive the numbers based on the business needs.
Okay. So the 600, well then, so am I saying that the this is not just customer service, that's the whole entire department, am I correct?
Yes, the
Okay.
entire Detroit Water and Sewage Division, yes.
Okay, and out of that 682, what is the number for customer service, for the customer service representatives? Do you have an idea?
I have the exact number. I can give it to you. I can send it to you, or Matt can send it to you.
Okay.
We have it.
All right. I appreciate it. Just wanted to know how much is customer service, especially because people still called in and they want help. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Next, you'll see our retirement breakdown. Again, as our headcount increases with new employees, the amount of retirement eligible employees decreases, obviously. So this is the lowest I've seen it in 6 years. We're at 17% of retirement eligible. And speaking of retirements, we've had one retirement since last month, Mr. James Singleton. He had 21 years and 8 months of service, and he worked in our maintenance and repair division. We like to wish him a very, very happy retirement.
Retirement, yeah. Mr. Chair, may I ask another question?
Of course, Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, Ms. Thornton, is there still in the people that have 40 years, 20 years, 25 years, whatever they are, I don't know where it stopped, that they still have a pension when they retire?
Yes. And if you could take a look at the screen, Commissioner Garcia, you will see we have the breakdown as it relates in years and age.
Right.
So this is retirement eligible and retirement criteria, which does consist of a pension, but you have to meet one of those 5 criteria in order to obtain a pension.
So the pensions are still, pensions are still in place then?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that it had gone to 401k or something instead of a pension. So anything after 10 years, you have a pension, am I correct?
Well, it could be 8 years if you're age 65 or older.
Okay, so it's age and years. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any others? Okay. Next, you'll see, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I have seen, this is not a question, but a comment. I've seen advertising that shows that well, I don't know if it's specifically DWSD, but that there are careers in the water industry. Are we a part of those ads that are going on, or is that just something GLWA is doing?
We have our recruiting talent and acquisition team, led by manager Carla Calhoun, has participated in outreach programs. And in fact, I'm going to touch on that shortly, where we've spoken to children and high school children about careers within water. In fact, we did have an event I'm going to report on very shortly. So we do participate, Commissioner Blackman, in outreach programs, and we talk about careers. And I believe we did partner with GLWA as well.
Okay, one further question. Are we working at all with any of the community colleges, and have we been able to establish a program or a class that lets them become eligible for employment with us?
Well, it depends on the division, right? And I know that as far as customer service, there has been some outreach with I believe Henry Ford Community College. And I know we were looking at Schoolcraft for some potential paralegal services, but we do partner with various schools, whether if it's for training or for future employment. As you know, we have a lot of employment partners that we work with to fill our positions. That's how we're able to fill them so quickly.
Thank you. Yes, I know we do have other partners. I was just wondering how specifically we were, what community colleges we might be working with, but thank you for the answer.
I can follow up though, Commissioner Blackman, and tell you exactly what colleges and what programs. Why don't I do that for you, okay?
Director Thornhill?
Yes.
It's Matt Phillips.
Matt.
Yes, we are, DWSD does participate with Henry Ford College, and they do have a customer service certificate program. It consists of 5 courses. Once they complete those 5 courses, they get a customer service certificate. And I am actually on the advisory board for that. So I'm very familiar with it. And those students do get to send their resumes, and I keep them up to date on when positions become available. So we are a partner and we do work with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay. So here you'll see our current open positions. And we have 12 open positions, and this is one additional position from last month. Actually, it's 12 requisitions, and it equates to 21 open positions. However, in light of the 54-inch water main break that occurred last month in Southwest Detroit, DWSD initiated a hiring freeze as part of a cost-cutting measure. So in essence, we really have, in addition to these 21 open positions, about 40, 41 or 42 other positions that we've put on hold as we assess our budgeting needs. We are filling backfills for people who either retire or resign or are terminated. We are backfilling those positions, but other open positions are on hold. Any questions? So we had a career event, and we worked with the National Association of Black Women in Construction, where we were able to speak to students and introduce them to the water industry and discuss possible careers. Our recruiting team, they spoke with some of those future leaders, and they talked about the various career opportunities here at DWSD. And the participants were very well pleased and very interested in our business. There was also a roundtable discussion with students where the students had the opportunity to interact with invited guests and talk about career paths. Some of the recruiting team and notable guests included Representative Rashida Tlaib and Adrienne Bennett, the first Black female master plumber in North America. We also participated with our procurement manager, Marquesha Welch, and Tiffany Jones, our business opportunity director, Kendrick Jackson, who's also in HR and safety training, and the remaining of the safety and training team. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, where is the Job Corps Center located? Could you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. Ms. Thornhill, did you hear
Yes,
Commissioner Blackman? Okay.
I know it's in Detroit, but exactly where, I'm not sure, Commissioner Blackman. I'm sorry. I was trying to Google it very quickly for you.
That's fine, thank you. It
All
says
right.
it's Detroit, I just wondered specifically where it was, but that's okay.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. In training and development, performance management is currently what DWSD is focusing on. And we talk about this every year, and we come to you and we kind of explain our process. What has changed this year in our process is that OT Pro, our HR information system that we're now using, is now going to house our performance evaluations. So before we used Adobe Acrobat to fill out the form and you had to print it out and keep a hard copy. Now the copy can be stored electronically in OT Pro with an employee's record. Also, an employee can perform their own self-assessment as well as the final management assessment. So here's a timeline, and again, we share it with you commissioners every year. As you know, at the beginning of the fiscal year, every year we conduct our goal setting. And throughout the year, management and the employees discuss where the employees are performing as it relates to their goals. Sometimes goals are adjusted and they're changed. Mid-year, if there are any employees that have performance issues, we conduct an additional review, but that's only mid-year around December if there are performance concerns. However, right about now, we're starting to train all of our managers and employees on our new system with an OT Pro, and also management will start to complete those performance evaluations in a week or so. Those performance evaluations must be completed before merit planning begins, and we target that right towards the end of the fiscal year. So again, same process as before, but a different system. We're, now improving our technology and taking advantage of OT Pro. Are there any questions? Next, we have on our planning calendar, we have environmental health and safety. And as I mentioned last month, we've hired a new environmental health and safety manager. She was supposed to be here with us today, but she's under the weather. So I'm going to speak for her and I'll bring her on next month. But her name is Natasha Hooten. She previously worked at Great Lakes and came highly recommended. But here on the screen, you will see some of her Great Lakes Water Authority, excuse me. You will see her background, professional background and experience, and some of her certifications. Are there any questions? We're very happy and pleased to have Natasha on our team. And next, commissioners, last month,
Chair,
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Blackman.
I was just gonna ask her, what did we do to woo her over to our side?
It was all left up to me, Commissioner Blackman. I'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Just one question.
Commissioner Kidlock.
So this position, glad to hear that she was able to join us. Was it posted internally, externally? Did we have any internal candidates who were interested in this position?
Great question, Commissioner Kinlock. Yes, we did post the position. When we post the position, we also send an email out to all of our employees, letting them know it's posted. So both internally and externally, anyone could have applied. And we did have, I believe, one or two internal candidates. Ms. Hooten, with her experience, by far, was a leader as it related in terms of experience and education and certifications as well.
Okay, thank you. That's something I absolutely zero in on, and making sure that that we look internally as well. You know what I'm saying, and creating opportunities for folks to grow and expand. Who's been working with us and been loyal with us. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. Last month, Commissioner Davis, you asked us about injuries, work-related injuries, and I wanted to share that information with you.
Please do.
So this year, we've had a total of 16 injuries, okay? Or body part injuries. We actually only had 12 injuries, 12 people, but some people had multiple injuries. So that's why there was a total of 16 injuries, 12 people. And you'll see here on this chart, here's a breakdown of where those injuries occurred. So part of the safety team responsibility is to make sure they investigate those injuries to see if there are any ergonomic causes or any issues that we can mitigate so that those injuries do not occur again here at DWSD. And here's another breakdown by body part. And since February 17th, we have not had any recordable injuries. And that means injuries that require anything other than first aid. So we're on a good trend and we want to stay on that trend.
Chair,
Commissioner Blackman.
does that mean that, well, I'm just looking at the wrist injury now. Does that mean that we took some precautionary measures or training to ensure that that number would come down, or those numbers would come down, period?
Yes, you never want an injury, right, Commissioner Blackman? We know that, but our goal is to make sure we prevent any injuries from happening, or when they do, at the very least, we investigate to make sure we do all that we can to make sure they don't happen again. So that's our goal: 0 injuries, 0 lost time, 0 recordables. We want people at work and we want people healthy at work.
There would be retraining or at least reorientation as to how the job should be done properly.
We also conduct stand downs and retraining. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're welcome.
Yes, Ms. Thornhill, if my memory serves me correctly, I remember mentioning the possibility of a cave-in when workers are working in a pit down beneath the surface. I remember inquiring about what we do, how do we train to prevent that from happening, because that's the worst thing that can happen. That can very easily lead to death.
Absolutely, Commissioner Davis. And what we have is called trenching and shoring training. So to shore up the different materials, the wood, we also have a box that shores up the dirt so that it does not cave in. So we do conduct the training. The safety team also conducts regular site inspections. In addition, we will periodically work with operations and conduct load checks. So what that means is before the crews actually go out in the morning, safety will work with operations and check those trucks to make sure they have the proper trenching and shoring materials.
Okay.
Then lastly, our slide here are the injuries by month. And of course, we're going to go back and take a look at January to see if any of those injuries were related to a slip and fall, or if there's anything that we can prevent. So currently the safety team is looking at that data. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions? Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Thornhill. Colleagues, I think that covers it very well. Let's see what our agenda looks like. Got that? If there are no other matters, our next meeting is May 7th, 2025, and Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjournment, Mr. Chair.
Support.
That motion's been made and properly supported. We are now adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, let me pull the agenda up. I'm trying to pull the agenda up. 1 second. Okay, here it is. Here we go. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Motion is in order.
I move. Go ahead.
Okay, I move we approve the agenda as presented. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the meeting agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? This item stands approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. A motion is in order.
Approval, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? This item stands approved. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Who will read the public participation instructions? But before I ask for the instructions to be read, Mr. Peckinpah, if it is you or whoever's reading, has anyone raised their hand to be recognized?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is me, Brian Peckinpah, Public Affairs Director for DWSD. We do have one hand raised, and this gentleman has, and the others in the list have been in the other committee meetings. So do you want to go right to Mr. D'Amico Williams, sir?
Yes, let the record reflect that the instructions are consistent through all of the meetings. And like you said, there's no one new joining the meeting, so they heard those instructions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next?
Mr. D'Amico Williams.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, Commissioner Kinlock and Commissioner Eisenhower. How are you guys today?
Doing well, thank you.
Good, good. I just wanted to bring light to concerns in this committee meeting in regards to the flood that happened in Southwest Detroit. You know, a lot of residents are really upset about this. City Council public comments have been lately have been very concerning as to residents wondering where is their help on making them whole. You know, Miss Ruby Riley came to this board and she had a grievance with her flood in 2016. Now, the Detroit Water Department offered her $3,600, but it did not cover enough to where Miss Ruby Riley needed to have her belongings, her basement, her furnace, and everything restored. Sonia Brown over at Auntie Nay's community has dealt with the same thing for years, and they have not been redressed. There have been excuses. There have been told no's by Mr. Brown, and Southwest Detroit happens. How did those people end up with their being made whole? What were the qualifications? What were the criteria to determine if their homes were eligible? I'm pretty sure that there has to be some explanation made of this, because some community meetings, people are wondering. I have a list here of people that were denied from the GLWA responsibility of forms and claims. I also have the copies of people that have went through those floods and have been denied. What are we going to do for those persons to be made whole as well? I think that's very unfair. Now, congratulate the Detroit Water and Sewage Department and the workers and the administration for handling Southwest Detroit, but it is setting a precedent of unfairness that you jumped for a community and not for any other community. That's becoming a problem. And then also, I want to regards to Mr. Daniel Hayner. Please leave him alone and stop harassing him, sending him threatening messages and people to his door to deliver a cease and desist. I think Mr. Hayner, as a deaf individual, and that's harassment of persons with disabilities. That's an ADA violation as well. You know, to harass someone, and let's just keep the record clear that Mr. Hayner, he's doing what he's supposed to do, and to keeping you all honest and accountable, and you all can't get mad at that. Thank you so much for taking my comments. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Peckinpah, is there anyone else to be recognized?
Mr. Chair, he was the only public commenter.
Thank you. Then let the record reflect public participation is closed. The next item on the agenda is item 6, and under 6, we have 6A, item 2025-84, receipt of correspondence. DWSD 4.
Chair? We lost you, Mr. Chair. Hello? Anyone there?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll move we receive and file.
No, 1 second, 1 second. Okay, so, let's do this here, this audio. See the audio, computer audio, there you go. Okay, thank you. And so it's been moved by Commissioner Eisenhower and supported by Commissioner Blackman, is that correct?
That's correct. But I was going to move A and B, but that's correct.
Okay, that is in order, I'll accept that.
I accept it as a friendly amendment.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, it's been accepted by the motion maker and supported by the with the second. Okay, so all those in favor and receiving and filing the FOIA report for March 2025 and the litigation report for March 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Both these actions stand approved. And the next item on the agenda is unfinished.
Chairman?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, this is Scott McGriff, DWSD General Counsel. I want to point out that with respect to item 6B, the litigation report, you had requested that for entities that we had brought suit for non-payment, that we include the service address in that litigation report. And I just want to point out that pursuant to your request, that's included in the litigation report.
I appreciate that, that highlight and also the additional information. And so thank you for that. And we will now move on to item 7, unfinished business. There is none. New business, there is none. And then under the planning calendar, our council, corp council and I will meet, general counsel and I will meet to establish a planning calendar for the remainder of the year. I'll be reaching out to him within the next week. The next item on the agenda is the other matters. I know of none. The next meeting of this committee will be May 7th, 2025. And now a motion is in order to adjourn.
Adjourn, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved by Commissioner Blackman.
Support.
Supported by Chair Eisenhower. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey.